Hi gang, Rob here. Got a short video for you tonight, but one that, I guess has been sort of tugging at my heart, trying to get out. And, it might not be the most pleasant one for some of you to watch and hear. Just kind of got the camera showing you some of my collection of knives. And not showing you these to show off, but to illustrate the fruit of, 35, 40 years of knife collecting. And why would I show you this? Well, because I've had some communication with some YouTubers and some potential sharpening customers over the last few weeks that has given me a little bit of concern. I think in the knife community, especially the YouTube knife community, in which we share a lot of information and do some show and tell on knives in our collections, we tend, I think, as individuals to get a mentality that says, if I see it on YouTube and it's sharp and shiny, I really just need to have it. And I'm not sure that every time we have that thought we should act on it, and I'm not sure that watching videos on YouTube as a viewer gives us a very accurate picture of what it takes to acquire some of these knives. And I think sometimes some of us, myself included at times, have spent money on knives to add to my collection that really should have been allocated in more important places. So let me just kind of run down some things for you to give you some perspective. This isn't my whole collection by any means. It's just a display area in my gun and knife safe closet that houses some of my favorite pieces. But just to give you an idea, what you see here is something around 50 knives folding and fixed, and I'll pick out a few select ones and kind of give you an idea when I got them, how much I paid for them, roughly, and what I did to fund them. Let's see, let's go back to some early stuff. Here's a pretty neat old liner lock. It's an old Jim Parker, all stainless gents folder. Made back in the early to mid 80s. You can tell I carried this knife when I was a little, perhaps less responsible than I am now with my blades. Pretty good kink in the tip of that thing. I don't really carry this one much anymore. It was a gift from a friend of mine who passed away almost 25 years ago. It just kind of stays here on the shelf, and didn't pay anything for that. And here's a neat another old gents folder, kind of that pocket multi-tool. It's got a pair of scissors in it, and maybe does it have yeah, it's got a pair of tweezers. And this belonged to my grandfather. Had this, I guess since I was in my early 20s, after he passed away. Initials BL for Bill Larrabee. And I've got some, the old Camel novelty knives back in the smoking days. Nice little teak-handled lock back. See if I can get this open on camera. Might be hold on here, guys. Kind of is that. Looks like it was American made. Cut master, huh? Interesting. Sorry guys, trying to manipulate knives and work a camera. Not the easiest thing in the world all the time. Here's a little Browning lock back with burl walnut scales, nickel silver bolsters. This is a knife I've had for about 30 years. Some of my traditionals are here in this section. You recognize some of these. Some of them are recent purchases. Some of them I've had for 20 or 30 years. Here's an interesting one. Here's a knife that, this was an addiction knife. This is a Diefenthal folding hunter from Solingen, Germany. It was really expensive. I bought this about maybe 18 years ago. I was a young husband and father, and my money should have been going elsewhere. And I think I spent, oh gosh, I think this might have been the first knife I ever bought that was over $100. I think it was $125 or $130. That was money that should have been buying groceries, but I fell in love with it and had to have it. Not a purchase I should have made. Remember, I was young, narcissistic, and not the most responsible guy in the world when I bought this. A lesson I've learned from, but I've always hung on to this knife too. And you can see here my collection of Victorinox knives, and here's an Opinel gift from a sharpening customer and a local Fort Wayne guy, Josh. Then we get down into some of my more expensive knives. Well, actually not. Here's a $20 K-bar Dozier. Great tool. Not anything to sneeze at from a collectability standpoint. Pretty cool little knife. If you're tight on grocery money, this is probably the kind of knife you guys should be buying. You know, not everybody really should be able to justify spending $400 or $300 for a Chris Reeve knife. And here's sort of how I would prioritize this. And you know, take this fatherly advice for what it is. First of all, knives are tools. Yes, they are a collectible hobby, no doubt about that. But first of all, they're tools. And I would strongly suggest have 1 or 2 or 3 specific purpose knives for tools that complete tasks that exist in your lives. But before I make knives a collectible, if I were you, I would strongly suggest that your needs are taken care of, that your life is on a budget. Let me get my DPC certificate of authenticity out of the way. So your needs are taken care of, your life is on a budget, you're planning and saving for the future, and as far as prepping goes, or preparations for a bad day, that you've got your knives well thought out as a part of that system. And until that system is relatively complete in its entirety, not just with knives, but with long-term food storage, gear, guns, that kind of stuff, that you don't waste a lot of money on 50 or 100 of something you need 2 or 3 of. I know we all feel like we see a knife on YouTube and it's popular and everybody has it. And in order to be part of the in-knife crowd, so to speak, we have to have one too. But sometimes, in fact, all the time, responsible stewardship of God's money that our Creator has entrusted us with, resources He lets us use, needs to come before keeping up with the Joneses or the Skeltons. Let's see, let me pick out a couple other knives I shouldn't have bought. Let's see, I probably didn't have money to buy this para too when I bought it. I think it went on a credit card. Don't do that either. Do not pay interest on a hobby, guys. Words of semi-wisdom from someone who's made all these mistakes. Nowadays, I fund my knife purchases by carefully budgeted dollars and some of my Google AdSense money and some of my sharpening money. That, you know, some of that revenue goes in the family's general fund, and some of it is kept out to kind of keep the channel going and keep the collection growing. And so I have material for this YouTube channel and that kind of thing. And also, sometimes I want a knife, don't have money in the budget for it, and if I want it enough, other knives have to go for me to have it. That's why I have knife sales. Even when it comes to something as wonderful as knives, guys, just because I see it and I want it doesn't mean I should have it, nor should you. And remember, just because you see it on this channel or somebody else's channel doesn't mean it was free. Sometimes years and years and years of careful planning of a collection go into what you see on camera. Getting it all now is not how it's supposed to work. Certainly not at the expense of the necessities of life. But they are wonderful little machines, aren't they? That's all I have for tonight. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word is sharp. Have a good night, guys.